Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to some video notes that I have for you guys today. If you could go ahead, get out your notes and turn to 2.5 in your notes. So we're looking at solving some multi-step equations as well as what happens when there are variables on both sides of our inequality. Now, when we look at these, so it's questions like number 1, part A here. So here we have variables on both sides of our inequality. Now, a couple different things that's going to happen here. So first off, let's walk through our steps. Now, our steps are always, first and foremost, get rid of any parentheses you see. Now, with number 1A, I don't see any parentheses, so we can go ahead and skip that step. Now, step number 2 is to make sure that all of your variables are on the same side. Now, when I am looking here, notice it just says solve. So I don't necessarily need all my variables on the left side. However, that's where we generally like all of our variables is on the left side. So whenever I'm dealing with inequality, I always just move my letters, my variables over to this left side. So my first step in solving number 1, part A here is to move this negative 2x over to this left side. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides here. So now what happens is the negative 2x's that were on the left, those are gone, leaving me with just this negative 6. Now I didn't multiply or divide by any positive or negative numbers, so my inequality is going to stay the same. And then we're going to go ahead and bring down our left side here. So it's 1, then we got a plus sign here, 5x plus 2x gives me 7x. So now when I go to solve, I'm always looking at the thing that's further away from my letter at that moment. So in this case, I'm not saying the 7, I'm saying this 1. So let's go ahead, let's subtract by 1 on both sides. So that gives me 7x less than negative 7, and then I'm going to divide by 7. So my final answer, x is less than negative 1. So there's my answer for part A. Now, part B, very similar to what we were looking at with part A. We just have a little bit less going on, but do notice that no parentheses, so I can skip that step. Step 2, moving all of my letters to the same side. So I notice I have a 4x on the left and a 7x on the right. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move those 7x's over to the left. Now again, it doesn't actually matter what side you move your variables to. I always just move them to the left because remember when we're graphing, we always like those letters on the left. So that just saves me that step at the end if we do have to graph. Now with number 1, we don't have to graph anything, so we're good there. But let's go ahead and we subtract our 7x's, those 7x's that were on the right, those are gone. Leaving me just a 6. Didn't multiply or divide by any negative numbers, so my inequality is going to stay the same. 4x minus 7x is negative 3x. So now when I take this negative 3 off of x, we gotta understand that's negative 3 times x, okay? So negative 3 times x there, so I have to divide by negative 3. Negative 3's on the left are gonna cancel out, leaving me with just x. Now because I'm dividing by a negative number, that inequality needs to flip. And then 6 divided by negative 3, that gives me negative 2. So this would be my final answer for part B. Now, let's go ahead, let's talk about part C. Now, part C, here's where we see a couple of steps being added up here. So step number 1, remember, is to always get rid of our parentheses. Now, remember to get rid of parentheses, all we have is the distributive property. So not only do I have to distribute on the left, but I also have to distribute on the right there. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute into part C, the left side there. So 5 times 2, that gives me 10, minus 5 times x. So remember these little, I call them waves, but distributive property, that's multiplying. Okay, so make sure when you're distributing in, and remember you have to distribute into everything, you can't pick or choose, but when you distribute here, you are multiplying. My inequality symbol is going to stay the same because I didn't multiply or divide by a negative number. And now when I distribute over on this right side, it's 3 times x. And then it's 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. So now when I go ahead and move to step 2, just go ahead and move all your letters to the same side. I'm going to move these 3 x's over to the left. Again, does it matter what side my x's are on at the end of the day? No, it doesn't. But I do like them over on the left just for graphing reasons. Now, the 3 x's that were on the right, those are gone, leaving me with just a negative 6, greater than or equal to, and then I have this 10. Let's see, negative 5 minus 3, that's a negative 8 now. So I have 10 minus 8x greater than or equal to negative 6. Now we're always getting rid of the thing that's further away from our letter. So I'm not looking at this negative 8, but this positive 10. I can move that over. So now it's negative 8x on the left side, greater than or equal to negative 6 minus 10, that's negative 16. Now we are going to divide by negative 8 there. So we're dividing by negative 8. So that's going to give me my final answer. Let's see, negative 8's on the left, cancel out. I am flipping that inequality because I'm dividing by a negative number. So we're going to flip that whole inequality to the other side. And then negative 16 divided by negative 8, that does give me a positive 2. So there would be my final answer. A lot going on with part C. So that's a big one to talk about just because not only do we have distributive property on the left side, but also on that right side. So now one more quick one that I do want to talk about is part D. So part D here, we need to go ahead and distribute in this negative 3. So let's go ahead, let's do so. I'm distributing in a negative 3. That's going to make it negative 3x plus 9, because negative 3 times a positive, or sorry, negative 3 times negative 3 gives me positive 9, greater than or equal to 5 minus 4x. Now let's go ahead, let's move these x's that are on the right, let's move those over to the left. So to move to move a negative 4x, we need to add 4x to both sides. That cancels out the x's that were on the right side, and now negative 3x plus 4x, that's 1x, and then plus 9, greater than or equal to 5. And now when we go ahead and subtract by 9 here, I get my answer, which is x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay, so there would be my answer for number 1, part D. Now, with that, we are going to have some situations where we have infinitely many or no solutions. So hopefully you guys remember this, but no solutions. I'm just going to put it abbreviated over here. Remember, that's the circle with a line through it, right? And then infinitely many solutions. IMS there. That's the Blackboard R. So you draw 2 lines. Start with the first line, make an R with the second, and there's your Blackboard R. Now, if you don't remember these symbols, feel free to use these abbreviations, right? So no solution, NS, infinitely many is infinite, or IMS. Now, what we're looking for is infinitely many. That's a true statement, right? So no solution then would be a false statement. So we just got to remember if there's a true or false statement. That's what we're looking for. Now, let's go ahead, let's take a look at what one of these situations is going to look like. So part A here, again, first step, always get rid of those parentheses. So on that right side, let's go ahead, let's distribute in that 2. So it's 10 minus 8a on the left. Nothing happened on that left side or with my inequality here. But when I distribute 2 times 5, that does give me 10. Minus sign 2 times 4 is 8. So now here's where our situation can pop up. But when I try to move these 8a's over to the left side, notice not only do they cancel out on the right side, but they also cancel out on this left side. So now here's a good place to talk and just kind of state this. But right now, we always want our mouth pointing towards the bigger number. So right now, it's saying that 10 is bigger than 10, which technically speaking, that is wrong. However, this line right below says or equal to. Ooh. So that means not only does this number have to be bigger than the number that's over here on the right side, but it could be equal to it. So this, for part A, is actually a true statement. So this is an example of infinitely many solutions. So my answer would be this symbol, or like I said, if you're not going to remember the symbol, feel free to put IMS. Okay, so here would be my answer for number 2, part A. Now, part B, here's where we're going to look at a little bit of a different situation probably. But when I look over here, so step 1, no parentheses, so we can skip that step. But notice on this right side, I do have some like terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those up real quick. So it's 6m minus 5 greater than, let's see, so 7m plus a negative 1m, that does give me 6m. So now here's where I'm going to move to step 2, which step 2 says to move all my letters to the same side. So let's go ahead, let's move all my letters to the same side. Let's move these 6m's that are on the right side. We'll move that over to the left. But again, just like what happened with part A, the 6m's not only are going to cancel out on the right, but also on the left. So now it's negative 5 is greater than 7. So remember, we want this inequality to be pointing towards the bigger number or facing the bigger number here. So since it's facing a negative 5, it's saying that negative 5 is bigger than 7. That's a false statement. So my answer, no solution. Or just like I said, if you don't remember the symbol, feel free to put a little abbreviation there. But no solution would be my answer for number 2, part B there. Now, let's go ahead, let's move on because there are a couple of word problems. I'm just going to flip to see if we have a back side here. We do have a couple of other questions to talk about here real quick, but let's go ahead, let's talk about 3 and 4. So, number 3 right here says find the value of k for which the solution of the inequality k times quantity 4r minus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 12r minus 9. Is infinitely many solutions. Well, whenever we see this situation happening, is we're really looking for our r's to match up on both sides. Now, whenever we're looking for infinitely many, that's basically where we're looking at, hey, how do I get these variables to cross each other out, to cancel each other out? Well, notice they have to be the exact same on both sides. So notice there was a negative 8a on this side and a negative 8a on the left side. And even with no solution, even when we're looking for a no solution situation, we need these letters to be we need these letters to be the same on both sides. So now when I pop down to number 3, really what we're looking for is we're looking for this 4r that's in parentheses to become negative 12r. Well, in order for 4r to become negative 12r, we need k to equal negative 3. Because if k is negative 3, I would distribute it in, and then that 4r becomes a negative 12r. So that's what we need k to be. We need k to be negative 3. So it doesn't matter whether it says, hey, what does k need to be for it to be infinitely many, or if it needs to be no solution. You're really just looking for those variables to match up on both sides, okay, just like with A and B here. Now, a little bit of a different situation. Number 4, this one's a little bit more complex, a little bit more work needed, but find the value of k that makes the inequality 2kx minus 3k less than 2x plus 4 plus 3kx have no solution. Well, let's see here. In order for it to have no solution, we need these kx's and the x's to cancel out here. So let's see. If I move these 3kx's over to the left, let's see what happens here. Gives me negative 1kx minus 3k less than 2x plus 4. And then So now what I'm looking for is how do I get this 2x to cancel out with this negative 1kx? And in order for it to cancel out, I would need k to equal negative 2. So that's the only way we would get this to have no solution. Again, our whole goal here is to get these x's, all of them, even if it's kx, it doesn't matter. We need all of these x's to cancel out. And the only way that happens is if I move this 2x over to this side and can't try to cancel out with this negative 1kx. In order for this negative 1kx to become 2x, I would need k to be negative 2. Okay, so that one's a little bit more challenging. That one will probably be one that would be like a bonus on a quiz or a test. So that's really what we're looking at if you're looking to get past that 100%. These are questions you're going to have to try to attempt. Now, my thought process with this is, Okay, well, we need these kx's to change somehow. I'm not even paying attention to the negative 3k. I'm paying attention to these kx's because at the end of the day, we need all x's. Like I said before, we need all x's to cancel out. And so when I moved this 3kx from the right to the left, I noticed that this negative 1kx, the only way it would become positive 2x is if k was equal to negative 2. So now let's go ahead, let's take a look at a couple more situations here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip number 5 here. We're going to skip the find the mistakes, but we are going to talk about 6 and 7. Now, so number 6, a soccer club plans to buy shirts for its team and supporters. Pro V Graphics charges a $75 setup fee plus $7 per shirt. BT Designs has no setup fee but charges $10.50 per shirt. How many shirts does this team need to order for Pro V Graphics to be the better option? Well, in this case, so Pro V Graphics charges a $75 setup fee plus $7 per shirt. So it's $75, which that's a one-time fee, plus the $7 it is per shirt. So P equals dollar per shirt here. Now, we want, does the team need to order for Pro V Graphics to be the better option? So we want this to be less than the BT Designs. So BT Designs charges $10.50 per shirt. Okay. So now let's go ahead, let's solve. Now, normally I would say, hey, let's move all of our p's to the left, but notice on that right side, all we have are p's. So if I were to just move them over to the right here, since it's not asking me to graph anywhere on here, right? It just says write and solve. I'm just gonna move my p's over to the right side. So let's subtract by 7p. So the 7p's that were on the left, those cancel out, giving me 75, less than, let's see, 10.5p minus 7p is 3.5p. And then I would divide by 3.5 to give me my answer, which is, give me 1 second, I'm typing it into a calculator, but that would give me 21. So if you order more than 21 shirts, you're gonna be you're gonna be looking to go to BT Design instead. Okay, but if you keep it under 21, you're good. You're at the right place to buy shirts because that's the cheaper option. So now number 7, container A and container B have leaks. Container A has 800 milliliters of water and is leaking 6 milliliters per minute. Container B has 1,000 milliliters and is leaking 10 milliliters per minute. How many minutes will it take for container A to leak less water than container B? Well, container A has 800 milliliters of water. Oop, we don't need that M there. Let me fix that real quick. We don't need the M there because it's starting with 800 milliliters. And it's leaking 6 per minute, so minus 6 per minute. Let's see, in container B, that's at 1,000 and is leaking 10 per minute. So how many minutes M will it take for container A to leak less water than container B? So we want container A to be less than container B. So let's go ahead, let's add all of my letters to the same side because there are no parentheses, so we can skip to step 1. There's step 2, moving all of my letters to the same side. So I'm gonna add 10p, that's supposed to be M. Add 10m to both sides here. So it's 800 plus 4m less than 1,000. Subtract by 800 now. You get 4m is less than 200, divide by 4, so m is less than 50. So after about 50 minutes, container A will leak less water than container B, but after 50 minutes, container B will be, or container, yeah, B will be leaking less water than container A. Okay? So there would be my answers for 6 and 7. But after that, substitute should have your homework. So go ahead and get out the homework, get started on it. Make sure to look back at these notes if you get somewhere stuck, like if you were looking at a question like part C, that one's a little difficult, or like part D where we are distributing. Just make sure to look back at your notes to when you're working on the homework. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. We'll see you. Have a good one.